I'm not gonna lie. The only reason that I downloaded Sundance Now was because of David Tennant. I mean, look at that face. Hello everyone, and welcome back to An Honest Critique. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Today's video is going to take a look at Sundance Now, the streaming service which houses dramas, international thrillers, bone-chilling true crime, and much more. Like my Shudder video, I will be giving my honest critique of the platform and giving you my top 7 recommendations to watch if you choose to try out Sundance Now's 7-day trial. Also, like the Shudder video, I'm still not sponsored. Unless Sundance Now wants to sponsor me. Anyway, if you haven't had a chance to check out that Shudder video, I will link it up above and down below. Now, without further ado, let's get into this. Sundance Now is a streaming service that has drama, thrillers, and true crime. It has movies, short series, and full seasons of popular shows. As with a lot of these streaming services, I think one of the most appealing things about it are the exclusive series and movies you can only find on Sundance Now. To remain true to my channel name, I must be honest. The only reason I chose to try out Sundance Now was because I kept getting YouTube ads for the Sundance exclusive series Des, starring David Tennant. If you don't know, I have been a huge David Tennant fan ever since my friends told me about Doctor Who in college. I'll get more into his series Des a little later in the video, but I figured I would share how I personally came across the service. Like Shudder, Sundance Now is a paid streaming service that you can access on various devices. You can watch it on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, and Chromecast. And you have 2 options when it comes to payment. You can sign up for the annual membership for $4.99 a month, or the monthly membership for $6.99 a month. With new critically acclaimed originals, film favorites, and must-watch series added weekly, this price point doesn't seem too bad for those who are fans of Sundance and can fit it into their budget. Now, again, I'm going to be honest, I canceled the service after my 7-day trial because while I did find some great series and interesting picks, which I will get into shortly, I couldn't find enough content that had me willing to pay the additional $4 to $6.99 a month for the service. I'm also drowning in like 4 to 5 streaming services, which I still struggle to consistently use every month. So there's also that. Now, although I did not ultimately keep the service, I definitely recommend trying out the 7-day trial to see if it is the right fit for you. With that said, here are my top 7 recommendations on Sundance Now. Number 7 is My Friend Dahmer. In this movie, Disney's Ross Lynch stars as the awkward adolescent Jeffrey Dahmer, before he became one of America's most infamous serial killers. Based on the acclaimed graphic novel, this is the haunting, sad, funny, true story of Dahmer in high school. I kept seeing this one come up on my recommended, so I thought I'd give it a shot. I think the film gives us an interesting look at the teenage years of one of the grisliest serial killers in American history. We hear a lot about serial killers torturing animals when they're younger and acting out in school. This film gives us a look at Dahmer's home life and social circles, ultimately ending with a hint of what is to come in Dahmer's dark future. I found the film intriguing because we usually only see movies that showcase the bloody murders that these serial killers commit. However, this one shows us the awkward, weird kid who struggled to find his way in life long before the murders. While I don't think that Dahmer's difficult upbringing justifies any of his actions, I do believe this film is unique in providing us with a lens to see him as a human being before he becomes a serial killer. Number 6 is the 3-part series Secrets of a Psychopath. In August 2012, 3 fishermen find some abandoned sex toys near a reservoir, and police link the items to a body found in a forest 17 miles away. What follows are the shocking details behind the most complex and surprising murder case ever to come before the Irish criminal courts. This gripping documentary is narrated through first-hand accounts of experts, observers closest to the case, and journalists who reported on the crime as it happened. This crime documentary, like so many others, starts off with a simple discovery of evidence, and it quickly leads to a search for the truth. It starts off a little slow, but it really picks up once it gets into conversations about mental illness and an exploration of BDSM and related topics surrounding the crime. I will say that it was really frustrating and devastating to watch the killer hound the victim over and over through his text messages, ultimately taking control of her at the end. I think the most intriguing part of the series, like many others, is the way that the police find connections in the smallest details that ultimately lead them to finding the person responsible. So I definitely recommend giving it a watch. Number 5 is The Vicious Kind. There's nothing like a first love to bring family tensions to a boil in this riveting dark comedy. That's how it's described. In a startling performance, Adam Scott from Step Brothers, or who I know better as Ben from Parks and Rec, stars as Caleb Sinclair, whose emotions go haywire when his brother Peter brings home his new girlfriend Emma, played by Brittany Snow. As the dysfunctional family is propelled into chaos, Caleb and Emma confront their mutual distrust and attempt to resist a growing sexual attraction. Now, this movie is, how do I put it, interesting? I don't watch a lot of indie movies, but this one caught my attention mostly because of Adam Scott. You can see how I pick my movies. Not only did he win Best Performance and Best Actor for this film, but I think it really shows his range because he's a little all over the place. If you go into this expecting to see Ben from Parks and Rec, I can honestly say that Caleb is the furthest thing from that. Overall, the film takes us on a journey of dysfunctional families and infatuation. It ends a little bit open-ended, but overall, I enjoyed the movie, so I'd give it a watch. Number 4 on my list is Heathers. My friends will be very surprised to see that I watched what I consider a very old movie. This 1989 film follows the lives of Westerberg High School's elite clique of popular girls known as the Heathers. The group is comprised of the powerful Heather Chandler, the green with envy Heather Duke, and the cowardly Heather McNamara. Rounding out the foursome is Veronica Sawyer, who is so fed up with the Heathers that she starts running with JD, a mysterious and super psychotic motorcycle-riding newcomer. But what begins as their noble effort to rid Westerberg of its bad apples ends up taking a real toll, and their teen rebellion produces a serious and mounting body count. Again, I don't watch old movies like this often, but I heard this was a classic, so I wanted to give it a try. While I thought it was going to follow the usual horror comedy order of events, I was shocked at how quickly things escalated. It is an older movie, and I think that might be why a lot of the language is super outdated, especially the jocks and the communities in general. The way they treat the subject of suicide is super outdated, but again, it might be because it was made in 1989. Winona Ryder was definitely giving me Beetlejuice vibes throughout the entire film. Overall, I thought it was a good movie, so I recommend it if you're looking for an oldie but goodie. Number 3 is After the Wave. This documentary tells the untold story of the grueling forensic operation in Thailand to identify and return home the bodies of over 5,000 victims of the tsunami, both locals and tourists from around the world in Thailand for the Christmas break. The best international forensic specialists were racing against time to give back every victim their identity with one mantra to guide them: we will take them home. This unprecedented global effort, with over 30 international teams attempting to work together in chaotic circumstances, was charged with complicated international politics and explosive diplomatic tensions between Thai, Australian, New Zealand, British, Scandinavian, and German teams. After the Wave made my top 3 because it was one of the most devastatingly powerful documentaries I've seen in a really long time. As the summary will tell you, it deals with very heavy subject matter as it traces the devastating events of the tsunami and trying to get everyone home. Some of the most powerful instances were the interviews with the families as they described the torture they endured, just waiting to hear whether their family members were dead or alive. The section about the kids tore me apart, especially when they revealed that 1/3 of the victims were children. This section, along with the family reunions, brought me to tears. Overall, while it was crushing to watch at times, it was also so uplifting to see how many people from around the world came together during this crisis to help each other. They made it a point to say that it didn't matter what race or religion the victims were, they just wanted to get everyone home. I definitely recommend this documentary. It is really hard to watch because of the heavy subject matter, but I thought it was really powerful overall. Number 2 on my list is the series Des. Starring David Tennant, Des is a 3-part true crime drama focusing on one of the most infamous serial killers in UK history, Dennis Nilsen. Known as the Kindly Killer, Nilsen was a local civil servant who spent 5 years murdering boys and young men he met on the streets of Soho from 1978 to 1983. He would meet and befriend these men before offering them food or lodgings for the evening back in his North London flat. His victims were often homeless or living off the grid, which made them much more susceptible to Nilsen's apparent generosity. When he was finally caught on February 9, 1983, Nilsen had murdered a total of 15 men over a period of 5 years, making him Britain's most prolific serial killer of the time. As with many of these crime series, I think one of the most chilling parts is seeing that opening disclaimer that reads, "This is a true story." I don't want to give anything away, but I will say 8 minutes into this series is when the police interrogation starts, and it definitely is unlike any interrogation I've seen in a crime series. I think the reason I find the interrogation so interesting is because I watch shows like Law & Order Special Victims Unit, which usually takes the full hour to painstakingly squeeze a confession out of someone, but with Nilsen, he seemed almost proud to talk about his crimes at length. Some people think that the series features too much talking, too many conversations, and not enough action. They wanted to see Nilsen commit the actions of strangulation and see the gruesome crimes take place. However, these conversations with Nilsen help us uncover the kind of person he was because they're based on real interviews with him. As I said before, the number one reason I watched this series was because of David Tennant, and he did not disappoint. I think his acting is by far the best part of the show. It was his cold, emotionless facial expression in the trailer that pulled me in because it was so unsettling. If you like David Tennant as Kilgrave and Jessica Jones, you'll definitely get some of those vibes with Des. I think it was the way he described the crime so calmly and openly that made me appreciate David Tennant's acting. I will say that David Tennant's accent is very thick, so it took me a while to understand what he was saying. So I recommend having the subtitles on to avoid any clarity issues if you're like me. Overall, I would say this is one of the most chilling roles I've seen David Tennant in, so if you're a fan of his work, I highly recommend giving it a watch. Also, really quickly, something I have to recommend is The Real Des, which is another documentary on Sundance Now. It gives a much more thorough look at Dennis Nilsen as a person through interviews, videos, and tape recordings. We find out much more about his childhood, relationships, and so much more. But more importantly, it gives the victims' families a chance to speak out about Nilsen's heinous actions. I watched this after I watched Des, and I have to say it really filled in the gaps where the cinematic series felt lacking. I'm always a fan of hearing from the families, and I think with a case like this, where so many victims were overshadowed by Nilsen's name and infamy, this documentary really elevates the voices of those who knew the victims. And as an added bonus, it's narrated by, you guessed it, David Tennant. So definitely recommend watching it after. My number one pick is The Cry. This 4-part series follows the abduction of a baby from a small coastal town in Australia, which acts as the catalyst for a journey into the disintegrating psychology of a young woman, Joanna, played by Jenna Coleman, as she and her partner Alistair deal with the unthinkable tragedy under the spotlight of public scrutiny and in their private lives. The Cry is a layered psychological thriller that will grip you from the start and keep you guessing along the way. I really enjoyed this series. I was worried because it was a little slow to begin with, but it picked up pretty quickly. I'm a huge fan of mysteries, so trying to figure out what happened to the baby had me burning through this entire series pretty quickly. I can honestly say that I suspected every single character at one point. I think every single one. Like Des, I was interested to watch this series because of its Doctor Who alum, Jenna Coleman. She's absolutely fantastic in this role, and her acting is a big reason why I think the series is so successful. Like the summary suggests, this series will keep you guessing, and the ultimate reveal was pretty shocking, to me at least. I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a short mystery series. And there you have it, my top 7 picks from Sundance Now. If you choose to download it, please let me know down in the comments if you watched any of these and what you thought. If you choose to keep the service, let me know if there are any picks that I missed. And finally, if you choose to do the free trial like me and cancel before the 7th day, don't forget to set an alarm, because I would hate for you to wake up on day 7 and see that charge hit your account like Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like the video to show it some love, comment your thoughts down below, and finally, please subscribe if you have not done so already. We are very close to reaching 100 subscribers, which may not seem like a lot, but it is a huge milestone to me. Thank you again for all the support, to my subscribers who have been here since day one, and to those who are just joining the channel. I will see you in the next video.